with CanadaToolParts.ca. I'm Tino, and today we're working on a Hitachi NV83A2. Customer's complaining that the trigger is leaking. I've tested it. Doesn't seem to be leaking. 99.9% of the time, you guys can get away with just taking it apart and cleaning it. Depending on how badly you use it and how often you clean your compressors, which should be every day. I mean, well, not cleaning your compressor, but draining your tank every single day, and oiling the tool in the morning and at the end of the shift so that you're coating everything inside with oil so you don't get any corrosion inside. Let's get to it. You're going to need a 6mm hex, a 5mm hex, a 4mm hex, and an 8mm wrench, and a big slot screwdriver. Or what I've gone and done is I've taken a cheap wrench like so, and I've ground down the edge just so I can get it on the trigger, but that's for later. Right now, so let's stop hearing me talk and let's get to work. Anyways, here we go. Here goes nothing. So as you can see, regular Hitachi. Where I like to start, put it on its edge. Oh, and you're going to need number 2 Phillips. So we're going to start down at the bottom of the magazine. Take that screw out. Then we go to the top of the magazine. Here's where your 4mm comes in and your 8mm wrench. 8mm wrench goes on the nut. I mean, you use pliers, I've done that before. If you're not familiar with this, put the screws where you need them. And that just goes. That'll get washed after. The other thing I really noticed off the top with this thing, when you guys are going over your nailers, check the simplest things. Sometimes these magazines will crack. They'll usually crack up around here. He's missing the cap. We'll replace that. Part number should probably be in the connotation or a link to the parts breakdown. Let's get back. Don't forget to take your rubber off. You don't want to lose your rubber. When you lose your rubber, you're in trouble. Okay. Next, you're going to need your, I think it's a 3/16 punch. Yeah, sorry, 1/8 inch punch or a 3mm. Quick. You want to go, there's a part that's thinner. You want to go from the thinner side to the thicker side. That way it's easier to get out. There we go. And why we want that out is because, as you know, I like to do complete disassemblies here. This spring on this nail advancer, or sub-advancer I should say, is shot. We'll get into that after. But right now, let's just finish getting this thing apart. Here's where you're going to switch to your 6mm. 9 times out of 10, a regular cordless impact will get these out. Every once in a while, you get one that's really, really tight. And you got to do it the old-fashioned way with Allen key and muscles. That comes off. That comes out. Don't lose these. That's the pin for the safety actuator. From here, go back to the roll pin punch. That comes out. The trigger piece comes out. From here, this is where I use my little wrench. Depending on how tight it is. Oh, this one's tight. Blade screwdriver on the edge. Very, very carefully. Just give it a couple little love taps. There, that's all it took. From there, unscrew it. It's regular thread, so it's righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. That comes out. Okay, there's a ball inside, so when you flip it over, put it into your hand, because there's a little urethane ball right there. Inside there's a valve packing, or they call it a valve packing. It's basically just a seal. Use your little pick tool to pull it out. And from there, very cautiously pull on the safety, because sometimes the spring will jump out. Okay, this one didn't jump out, but there's the spring. That's how it looks. Right now it's filthy, nothing new there. We'll hit the solvent tank after and clean that all up. From here, dang nabbit, pull your driver out. Check your bumpers. These are notorious, well not notorious, but they do have a tendency to crack in here. Can cause a whole lack of issues. And check to make sure that it's not chipped in here. This, as they get old and get impregnated with oil, makes them soft, they start falling apart. Now I go to this side. If you notice, it sits nice and easy. From here we go 5mm. Take the top 3 out, and go for the top 4 that hold the cap to the main body. Well, if you carefully pull on this, 9 times out of 10 you'll be able to save the gasket. If not, you can either order the gasket or order a complete overhaul kit, depending on how bad your O-ring is on your driver and everywhere else. I do always check the O-rings to see if they have any flat spots in them. If they do, I do replace them. Then from here, little tap, up she comes. Okay, from here, that comes off, just like that. Spring comes out, washer comes out, the washer goes at the bottom. Here's the part that can be difficult. Now, yours will either pull out nice and easy, or like this one, it's going to be hard. So all I do here is I use my hammer, but I use the back end of the hammer just to tap it, and you want to go both sides, well not alternate each side, and then eventually it just comes out. From there, these don't normally get worn because this doesn't move up and down. The inside O-ring on here, it rides on that sleeve, and that sleeve goes in and out, which also rides on the O-ring in there. And before I go in the solvent tank, I will be pulling this O-ring off. Okay, what you guys are not going to watch me do, because it's boring as hell, is watch me check all the O-rings. From here, that concludes part 1. I'm only allowed 10 minutes, so, and you don't need to see me in the solvent tank. Actually, no, it doesn't conclude. Sorry, we're going to go a little bit further. I told you we're taking this thing completely apart. I almost forgot. In which case, we're going to need a 3mm hex or Allen key. So I want to see what's going on in here. Sometimes the springs can flip over. In this case, spring is non-existent. That's bizarre. But that's life. And then from there, you got the 4mm. You take out the other one, put your hand down on it, because there is a spring in here. Just keeps things from flying around. And that's why I'm an advocate of taking everything apart, because that bumper for the piston assembly is non-existent. It's disintegrated, and this thing's all full of crap. From here, get rid of that spring for the safety. You just gotta kind of pull and twist on the safety lever, and it comes out. This shit's just covered in crap. From here, you can either use a pin to get the retaining ring off. Oh, that's the other thing. Oh, it's all there. I normally replace these springs for the nail advancer because they do get tired. This is always fun. Make sure you don't poke yourself, it hurts. And there we go. There's that little tiny retaining ring. Pull the pin out just like that. That spring comes off. That comes out. That just goes to show you how dirty this tool actually is. Some people argue that the dirt doesn't impede on how it functions. That could be true to the most part, but eventually it's going to gum up and do something, and then you're going to be complaining that your nailer's not working. You guys can see me after when I finish cleaning all this stuff and it's all spotless and I've checked all the O-rings. If you need the O-ring, I believe the overhaul kit for this nailer and for a couple other models is a part number 18000. Time to go hit the solvent tank and check all the O-rings, and we'll see you back. And so we'll get back to action here. There goes nothing. You guys end up breaking that part right there, and the screw's supposed to go through it and hold it in place. When it's broken, it starts to flop around. But this is the same process as those two models I mentioned earlier. So what we're going to do is you're going to use a 5/32 punch or something of the equivalence. I've already shot these little tiny retaining rings. They're like neoprene or O-ring or whatever the hell you want to call it. It is right there. And then there's another one on the nail holder. Help loosen them up a little bit. Don't have to hit it hard, just a firm little whack. Pair of pliers finishes pulling it out. Hold it up so that the retaining ring is left in place. Then we do the same thing on this one. Here I don't use my 5/32 punch. I have a needle from a needle scaler that I've kind of ground down a little bit. Here you really have to pay attention. You want to go from the top down, not from the bottom up, because if you go that way you're not going to get the pin out, because it's going to hit the top plastic and then it's a nightmare. So from the top down, give a little tap. Once it gets sticking out, pull your pin. Stubborn little bugger. Okay, don't do like I did. I forgot to hold on to it. Mine didn't go missing too far. There's that retaining ring I was telling you about, right in the center of my hand. And then there's the spring. This piece is broken too. Just twist the cap off like that. So basically the cap's on there. Twist and pull, comes out like that. From there is a retaining ring or retaining pin and O-ring, but then there's also the ratchet pull. The ratchet pull we actually don't have to do. I'm going to use my pick, get underneath the O-ring, lift it up. Don't overstretch it. If you overstretch it, you'll break it. Now the trick for this, you can see that roll pin right there. It's kind of holding it from keeping it from coming off, right? There's another good view of it there. Use your pair of pliers. I'm going to do this in the camera so you guys can see exactly what I'm doing. You get it set up. Okay, right there. Okay. It's kind of hard to do it without watching what I'm doing. And then you get like that. Whoops. Get back in frame there. From there, what I normally do, you could use a roll pin punch and knock it out. I just use a pair of side cutters, and then very gently, this is weird not watching what I'm doing, and then just come straight out like that. From there, we need to keep this piece, or No, we don't need to keep this piece. There is the retaining ring, or your D10. It is right here. And it goes all the way there into there. What you can do is, let's use a screwdriver, and we're going to go in here like this. I'm trying to be a little bit more mindful of showing you guys exactly what I'm doing. So you're going to lift up. Now this is being stubborn. There it is. Okay. What I've gone and done. Lock this in a vise so you're not fighting with it. Put your screwdriver in. Push the tang out. Once you got the tang out, you can either use another small thin bladed screwdriver to get underneath it, or a pick and pull it up, get to the center and pull it off. Easiest way. That goes recycling. Don't need that anymore. That can go. Now we're back to this part. Throw that back on, lock it in here. Doesn't really make a difference. When you're putting this spring back on, you're going to notice that there's a groove all the way around here, and on this side it's kind of closed off, and you got the two holes on either side. The side that has the groove, that's where that spring goes on. So it just goes in here, and then a thicker bladed screwdriver, and it'll just click into place. From there, now we can just put it in. It'll lock into place. You may as well put the O-ring on first so you don't have to fight it over top of the roll pin. Speaking of roll pin, there you are. You can just set into place just like that. It's just sitting there really, really loosely, and all I can do is use a pair of pliers. Go, excuse me. Go on the other side of it, push it through, and you want it even, so it's going to look like that. Once it's like that, it'll retain. From there, pop on your cap. You'll hear an audible click. From there, well, let's not put on the bad part. Here's our new piece. Have it that way. Grab your spring, and here's what I normally do. We have it like this. I keep it apart, kind of close. I'm trying to do this so you guys can see it and see what I'm doing is kind of difficult. Put it on the tit, the little nipple here, the retaining nipple. Put it down. Get it in its place here. Hold on. I'm going to try and do this so you guys can actually see what I'm doing. Okay, it's not hooked in place yet. Keep your thumb on it so it doesn't pop out, and then put it down. The only thing I've forgotten to do is grab my little retaining ring and shove it in there. Grab your pin, in the hole it goes. Once you got it to there, you can either hit it with a hammer. I'm of the philosophy, work smarter, not harder. Channel lock pliers, and just do that. From here, use your center punch, or your punch. Give it a little push, you'll feel it kind of go click, and in its place it goes. Now we do the same thing here. Slide it onto there. Grab your pin into the hole. Channel locks. And we go just like that. Can't beat it. And that's all it needed for it to go into place. From here, you guys have already seen me put the magazine back on the nailer. You guys don't need to see that again. That covers, that's the end of this episode on how to replace your magazine half, because this part was perfectly fine. That was broken. Works like it's supposed to. So, I'm Tino with CanadaToolParts.ca. That's the end of this episode, and I'm on it. Until next time.